Morning everybody, how are y'all doing today? I'm doing great because after a week hiatus, I am back. Now, originally, I was afraid there wasn't going to be too much to talk about, and well, honestly, there isn't a whole lot to talk about right now. However, there's a video that was uploaded a couple weeks ago that's been making the rounds in this sort of Salt commentary community that people have been talking about. And I know I'm a little late to talking about it, but screw it, I'm going for it anyway. And this video is basically this guy trying to defend Nintendo from the mean consumers who are criticizing them for their bad practices like $80 games and banning consoles because of MIG switches. Now, I gotta be very careful about how I approach this video because just a week ago, this same guy uploaded a video claiming that Salt content creators were taking him out of context, which in all the videos that I've watched of people responding to his video, they weren't, but whatever, I guess it's just a cope or something, I really don't know. Either way, you know how we do it here. We do not take things out of context. I will be leaving everything in, and despite all of the context still being there, this dude's arguments are about to fall flat on their faces. So yeah, without further ado, let's go ahead and get right into this, and find out why apparently everybody who hates on the Switch 2 is a grifter.
Ladies and gentlemen, there are still people in the gaming space, whether it be for monetary gains or because they think they're fighting for some cause to save the video game industry, that have a disease that I like to call Nintendo Switch 2 derangement syndrome. And this syndrome revolves around 3 talking points that are constantly spammed in any comment section saying anything about the Nintendo Switch 2.
Okay, I don't think I should need to say this, but I guess I do. If on every post talking about a product, people are bringing up the same points over and over to discuss why they don't like the product or why they think it's bad, and it's a ton of people doing it, maybe there's a reason for that. And look, I understand it can get annoying when people just say the same things over and over again, and like no matter where you look on the internet, you see those things. I get it, but making a video calling people who complain about this stuff grifters is not a good look for yourself. And guess what? You're only attracting more of that negative attention. Negativity in a gaming conversation is as inevitable as death and taxes. Also, I'd like to point out he's calling it derangement syndrome. Wouldn't derangement syndrome imply that the reactions are invalid and blown out of proportion? I don't think anybody who's just commenting saying that they're unhappy with an $80 game is being irrational, but who knows, maybe this guy will convince me otherwise.
Even if it's just an okay thing, like I made a review on the Nintendo Switch 2, and I said it's a great product and it has flaws. It's not perfect. There's positives and negatives to it, like every product. But my comment section for some people was spammed with the same 3 tiring talking points that these people constantly talk about. So I'm going to debunk all 3 of them in this video. The number 1 complaint I hear is you don't own your games. That's the number 1 fucking comment. The game key cards, digital games bad, all this stuff, and it's all bullshit.
Okay, look, I have no problem with digital games, obviously. I'm only on PC. I have been only on PC for 5 years. Obviously, I quite enjoy my digital media. The problem people have with Nintendo, especially with the digital game cards, is that Nintendo was like the last bastion of fully physical games, where you just pop the cartridge or the disc in, and then you play the game. No downloads required or anything. It's fully on the disc, so you truly do own it. The issue is that the keycard system is giving third-party devs and publishers an easy out to not have to put the full game on the cartridge. The only big third-party game I can think of where they actually put the full game on the cartridge was Cyberpunk. And the fact that Nintendo, of all companies, again, like people's last hope for having full games on a cartridge or a disc, is giving third-party devs an easy out is not a good sign. Not to mention, this is happening at the same time that Ubisoft is trying to change their policies and make it so that you literally have to destroy a physical copy of your own game if they decide to stop supporting it. So no, I do not think it's fair to say that it's all BS, but let's hear what he actually has to say about it.
Number 1. All of the Nintendo first-party games are fully on the cartridge. I know it's a crazy thing to think about, the Mario Kart World, Donkey Kong Bonanza, the upcoming Nintendo games, the Zelda re-releases, they're all fully on the cartridge. And not to mention, the fear-mongering around digital games is driving me insane. People want to act like there's this great precedent of digital games being taken from you, when that is not the case at all. I still have access to every single digital title I've purchased from the start of digital titles being sold on consoles.
Okay, do people sometimes go a bit over the top with the whole digital games thing, being worried about it just being randomly taken away? Yes, sometimes that is blown out of proportion. However, there is still a good reason that people are worried, and this isn't really as much a Nintendo issue as it is a Ubisoft issue, because Ubisoft are actively trying to take away your digital games. They've tried this multiple times over the last few years. Remember, they required you to sign into your account every like 6 months or else you would lose your games. And then again, now their new EULA is saying you have to destroy your physical copies of games as well. And then there was the whole incident with The Crew where they were just pulling that from people's libraries because they just decided they didn't want people to have it anymore. So is this as big of an issue as people make it out to be? I don't think so. Because like this dude said, I can still play my digital games from years ago and be just fine. And yes, you're right. The Switch 2 games are still fully on the cartridges. That is good. I don't think anybody's issues with Mario Kart or Donkey Kong revolved around the games being on the cartridges. It had more to do with the pricing, and don't you worry, he's gonna get to that soon.
I still have access to my Wii library, digital library. I have access to my Wii U digital library. I have access to my Xbox 360 and PS3 digital games that I purchased. I still have access to games I bought on Steam from years ago, like Star Wars Battlefront 2 Classic. These games are not being taken from you. If they were going to steal your digital library or games away, they would have done it already. How long ago did the Wii come out? Last time I checked, it was almost 20 years ago at this point that the Wii released, and they have not taken away access to these games, and Nintendo, you know, would be the first ones to do it, and they haven't done it because they're not going to.
Honestly, I think the main problem with this part of the video is you're just missing the whole point about the key card complaints. You're getting too focused in on this whole digital versus physical thing. We know that Nintendo hasn't taken anybody's games away. We know we can just go back to our Xbox 360s or whatever and still play the digital games on there. You're ignoring the issue of the game cards where companies can literally just sell you a physical game, but it barely has any of the game on the cartridge and you have to download the rest of it from the internet, which isn't just a problem because of the potential of them taking it away. Some people prefer physical because guess what? Their internet is terrible. They don't want to have to spend a long time downloading something. Is it too much to ask that the entire game be put on the cartridge and then people can just pop in the game and play? We already talked about how Nintendo is still doing that. That's great. The issue people have is with the key card system. It was a terrible idea. And the fact that they were able to fit Cyberpunk onto a cartridge really just proves that there's no excuse for any game to not be fully on a cartridge. But yeah, I'm gonna skip ahead a little bit to get to his second point where he talks about the MIG Switch, because honestly, I'm not super interested in continuing to talk about the whole digital ownership thing. So we're just gonna move on. Don't worry, there's no context cut out or anything.
Number 2, the MIG Switch and bricking of Switch 2s. I swear to God, the amount of times I hear that Nintendo can just brick your console, oh my god. That doesn't happen. 99% of people that just use their Switch 2 the right way, you're not going to get your fucking system bricked. People that are using MIG Switches that want to pretend like everyone is legally dumping their ISO files and ROMs from the games they purchased physically, and then they're getting bricked. Dude, stop lying to yourselves. 99% of people that are using MIG switches have illegally obtained their ISO files. They're not dumping their own physical copies of games you own.
Okay, whoa. We gotta take a whole 3 steps back here. Where are you getting this number that 99% of people who use MIG switches got their games illegally? Your options are A, your head, or B, your ass. Because I can guarantee you have no actual source for this information, because guess what? You can't track how many people use their MIG cartridges for piracy versus legitimate use. Once you have to start making things up to make your argument sound good, that's when you should just stop making the argument. And dude, are you really gonna sit here and try to gaslight people into thinking that people's switches haven't gotten bricked for completely BS reasons? Like, what the hell do you mean use the Switch the right way? Shut the hell up. If I'm buying a piece of hardware for $450 or $500, I should be able to modify that hardware or plug into it it whatever I see fit, as long as I'm not doing anything like illegal. And guess what? MIG switches, contrary to what some people will say, are not just meant for piracy. They're meant so that you can have multiple physical games on one cartridge. If people use them for piracy, that's on them, but you should not get punished if you use the MIG switch for completely legitimate reasons because there's a chance you might be using it for an illegal reason. Don't get me wrong, the people who pretend that everybody who uses MIG switches are using it completely legitimately, obviously that's false. There are always going to be people who use emulators or MIG switches or something like that to play games illegally. That does not give Nintendo the right to brick your system that you bought and own because of a chance you could be doing something illegal. And it's funny, ever since he's made this video, I'm not gonna like hold this point against him or anything because this is hindsight, but it just recently came out that people have been getting their Switches bricked because they've been playing used games. So saying the average consumer isn't gonna get their Switch bricked, that's just straight up false.
But again, no one wants to look in the mirror and blame themselves for the current situation they're in. If you didn't illegally download games from the start, you wouldn't be in this situation where these safeguards would have to be in place. Just like with the stores. When someone starts mass robbing the stores, everyone kind of gets punished because shit gets locked behind the glass walls and it makes it inconvenient for everyone else. But in this case, most people don't use MIG switches, so it doesn't affect like 90% of people who own Switch 2s. And if you are someone who uses a MIG switch and legally backs up their game files on it and you're getting screwed over, you should be pissed off at the people who are doing it the wrong way.
No. Why would I be mad at the few people who are using the MIG switches for illegal reasons? How about instead of doing the equivalent of throwing a grenade into a room with 9 civilians and 1 robber, Nintendo improves their practices so that people will not feel as compelled to pirate games? I know it gets thrown around a lot, but piracy truly is a service issue. Maybe people wouldn't pirate Nintendo games if, I don't know, the games were cheaper, the hardware was better, they just had overall more pro-consumer practices. But no, let's blame the consumers and say, you know what? There's a chance that this could be used for an illegal purpose, so we're banning everybody who uses it. Also, guess what? Your store analogy doesn't work because in the case of a store, you haven't actually bought the product yet. The only thing you have to do is go over to an employee and say, hey, I want to buy this thing, and then they unlock it for you and grab the device for you, or the product, or whatever it may be. In the case of the Switch 2 MIG cartridges, people already own the games and are just trying to access them in a different way. But because there's even a chance of piracy, Nintendo's like, nope, just nuke them. This is not a good way to go about stopping piracy. Hear me out. What if they tried to win the pirates over into actually buying their games by not punishing them, but instead improving their services to be even better, to the point where a pirate might say, you know what, this is such a good deal, I can't refuse it. I'm actually gonna go buy a Switch 2 and buy the game. And then on top of that, you're also improving things for the average consumer. Like, all I'm hearing right here is leave the billion-dollar company alone. I'm sure this guy went to school, and I'm sure pretty much everybody watching this went to school. I'd be willing to bet that most of you have been in a situation where there was one kid goofing off, and then him goofing off got the entire class held back a little bit, like they had to stay a few extra minutes after school or something. In that situation, I am not mad at the person who was goofing off. I'm mad at the teacher for being a dick and punishing everybody because one person decided to be an asshole. Sure, the kid may have caused the trouble, but ultimately the teacher decides who to punish and how.
You should be pissed at the people that constantly spam the, it's always morally right to steal Nintendo games. No, it's not. Like, if you want to download GameCube games and stuff, whatever, they're not actively selling those. But for the people that constantly champion theft and stealing brand new games, it's a fucking embarrassment. And if you're someone who actually, legally, backs up your ISO files to your MIG switch, you can make it easier on yourself. Maybe just have one cartridge instead of like fucking 5 of them. You should be upset at the people doing it illegally and running around championing it like, oh, it's right to do it, acting like they're fucking Robin Hood or something. It's so fucking cringe, and you're taking an issue that 99% of Switch 2 owners we'll never run into and trying to make it like it's a fucking mass market problem for people.
I don't think anybody's trying to argue that the MIG Switch situation is going to affect the vast majority of Switch 2 users. The point is, it shouldn't be an issue for the niche audience who is using it. And once again, I love that we're blaming the consumer for a company side problem. Look, I'm not gonna pretend that like I'm a great person or like the Robin Hood of gaming or whatever because I pirate Nintendo games. I don't think anybody's doing that, and if they are, that is actually cringe. People say that it's morally right to pirate Nintendo games because Nintendo is so unbelievably anti-consumer, and they keep finding new ways to give the middle finger to their customers, to the point where, yes, it is morally right to pirate their games. I'm not saying you're a bad person if you don't pirate Nintendo games, but I am saying that when a company actively goes out of their way to screw over their consumers as much as possible, it's not enough for me to just sit there and not buy their games anymore. I'm gonna go out of my way to do what they don't want me to do, because not only do I not give a single damn, but also hopefully at some point it'll help them get their heads out of their asses and realize that what they're trying to do is not working, and the way they are trying to fight the problem is like pouring water on a grease fire.
Stop stealing games. Actually go out and purchase the games if you want them. If you don't, then just simply don't buy it. But stealing, it's not the answer.
No.
So number 3, $80 video games. I swear to God, there is not a debate that is more tiresome at this point than people still bitching about $80 games. If you don't like the price of the game and don't think it's worth it, just don't fucking buy it, dude. It's really not that hard. You don't have to sit there and throw a temper tantrum about it. You're not changing the fucking world. It's just fucking video games, man. Like for me, Mario Kart World was worth $80, so I bought it. The Outer Worlds 2 does not look like it's worth $80 for me, so I'm just not going to buy it. I'm not going to throw a temper tantrum about it. I'm not going to cry, bitch, and moan. I'm just going to not play it. It's really that simple.
Oh, this is just rich. I'm glad we've established that if you don't want a game to be more expensive for literally no reason, then you should just not buy it and shut the hell up about it. Gotcha, dude. I don't think anybody out here who makes a YouTube video complaining about $80 games is trying to pretend they're saving the world or something. Guess what? People don't like something, they're gonna talk about it. And dude, I just cannot stand the don't like it, don't buy it argument. Guess what? I didn't buy it. I'm not gonna buy any $80 games, but that also doesn't mean I'm not going to go online and voice my opinion about it. Here's an idea for you. If you don't like people complaining about $80 video games, just don't go on the internet. Just don't look at the complaints, dude. Just ignore them. It's not that hard. This is like the actual epitome of corporate bootlicking, and I will in fact continue to complain about $80 games because they're complete BS, and I will do this on top of not buying them. And guess what? I don't give a single damn if Mario Kart World was worth $80 to you. Can you give me one good legitimate reason that the game should go up in price? Not that, oh, it's worth the price. No. I want an actual reason for why the game should cost $10 more than the market standard, especially when the price of video games just went up to $70 a few years ago. In reality, you can't give an actual answer for why the price is going up because Nintendo themselves said they're literally just trying to see what they can get away with. Obviously, they didn't say that verbatim, but that is literally what it is. They're just charging $80 because they think they can, and if I don't like that, I have every right to speak up about it on top of not buying the games. And guess what? If Nintendo gets away with this, that means other companies are gonna try to do this. It's like a mold growing on gaming. Jesus Christ, no wonder this video got ratioed so bad.
Also, the Nintendo games aren't even all $80 like people are acting like they are. The Donkey Kong Bonanza game seems like an extremely ambitious game made by the 3D Mario team. It looks incredible, fully voice acted. It seems like one of the better Nintendo games coming out. That is still $70. So to act like Nintendo has just raised the price of every single fucking game to $80 is just bullshit. Just don't buy the game if you don't want it for $80. Just wait for a fucking sale.
Oh no, I know this man did not just say wait for a sale on a Nintendo game. Man, I can't wait until DK Bonanza goes on sale for like 10% off 8 years from now, because that's basically how their sales go. Like, dude, you could not have made this argument for a worse company. The two companies that get memed to hell and back when it comes to not putting games on sale are Nintendo and FromSoft. The difference is FromSoft doesn't overcharge for their games for literally no reason. And dude, are you really trying to argue that DK Bonanza should be 70 because it has voice acting and it looks ambitious? Wow, just round of applause for Nintendo. They put voice acting in a game. This justifies them charging 70 for Donkey Kong. I mean, if you really think about it, Nintendo is the last company that should be raising game prices, because not only do their games run and look worse compared to most other games, they're also infamously good at keeping development costs down. And guess what? Nobody's trying to say that Nintendo's raising every game to $80. Right now, that is. But do you honestly think that if they get away with Mario Kart World being 80 and it sells super well, that they're not gonna try to raise the games to $80 in the future for non-Mario Kart games, like, say, another Donkey Kong, the next 2D Mario, the next Zelda game? You're actually delusional if you don't think they're gonna try to get away with that.
The real thing is there's still morons out there that are sitting there saying games aren't even worth $50 or $40. They just want shit for free. Dude, get off of it. There are games coming out right now that are well worth $50. Stop acting like games are all trash now. That's not the case.
I don't think all games are trash right now. I think there's plenty of great games coming out this year. One of my favorite games of this year is Night Rain, which was a $50 game. The point people are making when they make that argument is that a lot of AAA games launch in completely broken, unfinished states, and then ask for $70, and then on top of that throw in microtransactions and whatnot. Which, by the way, can I just point out how funny it is that he's saying that people just want stuff for free while literally playing a free game in the background of this video? Like, if you're gonna launch your game unfinished and loaded with microtransactions, it should be free at that point. I have no problem paying full price for good games. I have problems with getting extorted and games charging more money for literally no reason other than the company thinks they can get away with it. Is this really so hard to comprehend? Apparently so.
Stop acting like you're changing the world. Stop going on this fucking moral crusade you have over video games. Put this energy towards something that actually matters in your life, and maybe you won't have to worry about video games so much. You can go back to treating it like a hobby that it is and not your entire life and personality.
This man did not actually just say stop caring about games so much and let the hobby you love just get worse and more expensive. Like, look, obviously real life takes precedence over video games, no duh. But video games are the main escape from life for a lot of people. God forbid they don't want their favorite hobby to get more expensive, and so they publicly talk about it. Like, is this really so hard to understand? I mean, I could make this exact same argument for you. Why are you so mad over people getting mad over the prices of video games? Shouldn't you be putting this energy towards something more important in your life, and then you'll stop getting annoyed at people on the internet? Really makes you think, doesn't it?
So I just wanted to go on this quick little rant because every single video on the Switch 2 that I make, or if I see other people make that I watch, or on Twitter, I constantly see these three talking points over and over and over and over again by people who have made it their whole identity to hate on the Switch 2. Like I said, whether it be for monetary gain and grifting, or just because they think they're changing the world. You're not. It's just video games, and I just wanted to quickly debunk these three talking points that these people use all the time.
I'm sorry, did I miss something? Is there another video I was supposed to watch? Like, what did you debunk in this video? You didn't debunk anything. You told people to leave the billion-dollar corporation alone and stop complaining that they were getting wrongfully banned for things. And also, you told people to not buy $80 games if they didn't want games to be $80. Wow, that's really some profound insight there, dude. It really is funny. You made a video talking about people complaining and we're trying to debunk the complaints, and in this video all you did was complain game about other people complaining. Also, which grifters specifically are you talking about? Because you can't just lump everybody who's criticizing Nintendo into one group and call them grifters. An example of grifting would be like what Mudahar did, where he spent months talking about how awful the Switch 2 was, how awful Nintendo was, and then he still went out to a midnight release and bought a Switch 2 after telling people for months to not buy it. That is grifting. People like myself and Frit, we are not grifters. We did not go out and buy this system. We actually stood on business. We voiced our complaints and stuck to our guns, as did a lot of people. So trying to call everybody who doesn't like the Switch 2 a grifter is just disingenuous.
And I know the $80 warriors are salty that $80 games are still selling fine, and their broke asses can sit there and continue to bitch and moan and act like new video games aren't even worth $50.
And we end by saying that anybody who doesn't like $80 games is poor, or broke, or whatever you want to say. Fantastic. Just truly an excellent way to argue your point. Just call people broke if they don't want prices to increase. I know this is probably going to be like a crazy newsflash for you, dude, but I can afford $80 games. The issue is not my financial situation. The issue is I know when I'm getting scammed, and I actually have standards and would like to not have my money be wasted. Just in case this video wasn't insufferable enough already, he just has to end on that note. Absolutely beautiful. But yeah, anyway, guys, with all that being said, that is gonna do it for this video. I truly do appreciate it if you made it to the end. This actually ended up being much longer than I thought. But hey, you know, I'm just happy to be back and making more content. Now, here's hoping that there actually is enough stuff to talk about. Although there has been a lot of Subnautica 2 drama with the devs recently, so that might be worth talking about. We'll see. Anyway, guys, thank you all so much for watching. Be sure to like the video if you liked it, dislike it if you didn't like it, subscribe if you want to see more. Join us every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern for Salt streams, although I probably should cut that part from the outro because they're not quite as regular now, but whatever. Every Wednesday, 8 p.m. And join us every Friday night at 9 p.m. Eastern on the gaming channel for gaming streams, and I will catch you all next time.